I'm Charlie Abel with Alba Aberdeen. We're here with our party leader outside the city. And we've got a couple of questions we want to ask. And one is about the democratic deficit in Scotland when all the people voted to remain in Europe, but despite that, we were pulled out against our wishes.
Well, absolutely. At very minimum, we should have got the same deal as Northern Ireland. As it is, our economy has been damaged, and now, Miliband is destroying the North Sea. We're in Aberdeen City. I've brought the bad weather with me, but this city should be booming, and instead we'll see the collapse in the North Sea and the damage elsewhere in the rural parts from our agriculture in terms of what's been done by Brexit. We require to get into EFTA and ultimately to consider whether we want to go back into the EU, the single market, as a matter of urgency.
Yeah. And what do you think is the quickest route for Scotland to get its independence with all this stuff that we're facing just now?
Well, we've had a referendum ruled out despite the wishes of the people of Scotland, so what we've got to do is do what the Supreme Court said you could do, which is to use a democratic event. The first democratic event is the Holyrood elections next year. We've got to make that a plebiscite election. Every list vote for Alba is a vote for Scottish independence. That gives us a mandate, so it's max the yes, list vote Alba next day.
Yeah. Never mind the political weather. It might be raining, but we max the yes, the sunshine. Well,
absolutely.
And as an Aberdonian, we're brought up here surrounded by energy, and we see money everywhere, and we see stuff going out our ports, we see windmills going everywhere. All that energy is going everywhere else. Scotland's not getting any benefit for it. What's the best way for Scotland to get a benefit from their energy bill?
Well, we have to control our own resource. At the present moment, we're a resource to be exploited. We get no revenue, we're seeing no jobs, we're getting no businesses located here. And what we've seen is our environment trashed. We're getting pylons going through scenic countryside, we're getting battery storage because they think it's cheaper and less hassle to base it here rather than south of the border. So we're a resource being exploited, as opposed to what should be happening in Scotland, where we're getting revenues, where we're getting jobs, where we're getting businesses located here because the energy should be cheaper, and we should be getting cheap fuel and cheap energy, and we're getting none of that. And that's why we have to have independence to control our own resource, to make sure that we benefit from the resource. And just this week, we've seen the absurdity of Alexander Dennis Limited, who manufactured electric and hydrogen buses, facing closure and the relocation of the jobs down to England. We should be able to be fueling buses, local authority fleets with hydrogen, with electricity, because we've got it coming out our ears in this land. Instead, we're seeing the manufacturing capacity relocated to Yorkshire.
Indeed. So the only way to max the power for the Scottish people and put the heating back on is to max the yes in 2026 and stop the mass deindustrialisation of our country.
Well, I grew up in West Lothian, and I remember when they closed British Leyland Bathgate, every product that they made in Bathgate continued to be manufactured south of the border. They moved the tractor plant south, they moved the paint depot south, the jobs were lost in Scotland. Exactly the same is happening in Alexander Dennis Limited decades on. They're closing it down, the jobs are going to Scarborough, you're picking up at P45. It's just...
It's not on. And the pity is, it doesn't have to be like this. And you wrote a letter to John Smithy, has he replied?
I haven't had a reply as far as I'm aware, and the tragedy is on the other side of the North Sea in Norway, things are booming, and they discovered oil at the same time as us. We're shut down the North Sea, and in fact the only oil field that we're continuing is going to be Rosebank, that's run by Equinor, which is a Norwegian state energy company. We have the absurdity that the Norwegian oil company is continuing to produce. We're getting offshore wind farms that are run by, the Swedish state, United Arab Emirates, the Chinese, the Japanese state companies, and we don't get any benefit from our natural resource onshore or offshore.
Yeah. Well, I hope the SNP members are listening to what's going on. They don't have to listen to John Swinney. They can listen to anybody they like.
Well, we and I were in the SNP for many years because we want Scotland to be better. Tragedy is we're going nowhere. We have to move, and we have to move fast, and that's why we've got the max yes next year.
Yeah, and we can do it a lot quicker united to doing exactly that, max the yes.
Absolutely. That big movement together.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you. Hey.